Hey, hey.
Work smarter where you want.
This is learning at its most fun. All right, welcome everybody to another Partner Best Practice Spotlight here with Redtail Technology. For those of you who aren't familiar with our Best Practice Spotlights, they're a little bit different than when we do a Partner Spotlight or a new Partner Spotlight. We tried to get just a little bit deeper on a particular issue. We try to highlight a particular issue that you may be having and, find a way to solve that issue. And listen, spoiler alert, it's going to be involving integration partners. It's going to be involving an integration that you might not be familiar with. So rather than just showing off the integration, we're going to talk a little bit about problems that you might be having in your office. Maybe not you specifically, maybe advisors, maybe staff members, who knows. But I did want to kind of set the stage for our best practice partner spotlight here. And with us today, we have Corey Westfall and MobileAssistant. MobileAssistant, Corey, number one, is one of my favorite people to work with. I know I'm not supposed to be biased, but I love working with Corey. He's one of the best dudes I know on the road. He is a really great partner to have because he shares Redtail's passion, my passion, with serving customers, serving clients, giving you all a better tool set to accomplish what you need to accomplish. Every conversation that I have with MobileAssistant, with Corey, is all about how can we make things better for our users? How can we make things more efficient? How can we make things more powerful? Corey's the president. He's the head honcho over there at MobileAssistant. So the buck stops with him. And I'm really, really happy to have him on board today. Now, Corey, obviously, listen, it's no secret that we're going to be talking about dictation and note-taking, right? And that's your specialty.
Yeah, well, thanks, Rick, for having me, and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. It's great to be on with you again, Rick, and want to kind of just echo the same sentiments. I mean, we've been working with Redtail for years now, and of all of our CRM integration partners, we really have developed over the years a really unique relationship with you guys because it's one thing to have an integration where we make note taking easier. Just to get the notes into the CRM. But with our Redtail integration, you and your team behind the scenes have worked so much with us as an integration partner to take it up to the next level where we're not only entering notes, but we're helping to enter tasks. And those are the things that I'm excited to talk to everyone about today, that whether you use us now or you don't, I think you'll get a lot out of the presentation and maybe learn some new things that can really help streamline your note-taking practice.
Most definitely. And before we continue, right now we're just showing that intro slide, so don't worry too much about that. Before we get into the solution, I do want to just have kind of an open conversation and have our attendees here because, these types of solutions, they exist because of problems. And the main problem that I have seen in my training, in my meeting with people, is note-taking. For everybody on this call, I'm fairly confident that, a lot of people, when a meeting is over, when they leave for lunch, when something happens, whatever, more often than not, people neglect the note-taking. They delay it. Now, if you're not neglecting it, awesome, great. Like, you're doing a great job. But more often than not, I see people who I don't have time to enter in notes, or I got to go to the next meeting. And I just think that that's setting yourself up to fail, Granted, in this day and age, you don't have all the time in the world. I understand that you got to move on. You got to keep going. But at the same time, we are in an industry, and I don't need to tell anybody on this call this, we are in an industry in which historical recording is perhaps the most important part of what you do. I've talked with a lot of advisors. Corey, have you heard I don't have time to do this. I got to be selling. Is that something that you've heard a couple of times yourself?
Oh, absolutely. It's a challenge that is not unique to everyone that's on this call today. Every advisor in the country that we meet has the same challenge, which is how do you go about memorializing and capturing all that important information that you're getting when you're meeting with clients, and how do you do it in an easy, efficient way? Because let's face it, the not to jump ahead too quick here, but like when you think about what we do as a company, the elephant that is our logo. I mean, it's the elephant in the room, which is documentation. After you get out of that meeting and you get back to your office and maybe you've gone to another meeting, you've got that information that has to get downloaded from your short-term memory or from your notepad so that you can recap from a compliance standpoint, and to be able to really have all of that information documented so that you can be able to see what type of opportunities are out there and different things that are going to help you to really do a better job for your client. And that's so it's not a challenge that's unique to everyone here, and it really is the idea of like, just think about the tools that you're using and what your routine is right now. And that's a really great way to start this presentation today after we get done kind of chatting a little bit, Rick, is to everybody just to step back and think about exactly how they go about documenting their client meetings right now. And then as we go through things today, hopefully we'll bring some ideas to light that really can make a big difference for exactly how you go about that process. And we'll not only save you some time, but how do we go about really helping you to get more information so you've got more opportunities that are revealed to you. So it'll be a great segue.
Yeah, exactly, man. And I'll kind of wrap up, this first little chat with you with, it's a problem if you're not recording notes timely. It's a problem if you're not recording detailed notes. Why is that bad? All I got to do is say one word: audit. That's why that's bad. That's why those habits are bad from a compliance and historical standpoint. Any type of delay that you have on your notes is a negative impact. And you mentioned, Corey, one thing: not only is it the technology, which we're obviously going to show people, but it's the routine. And that's kind of one thing that I want everybody to take away really early, in this webinar. If there is nothing else that you take away from this, one thing that I encourage everybody to do, particularly with meetings, particularly with any type of calendar activity or whatever, is that activity, that meeting, that review, that is not done until the notes are in. And that is a mentality that I encourage every office to adopt as best as possible. It is way easier said than done. It is a lot easier to get people who drag their feet, who have their feet in the sand, dug into the sand, to get to adopt new routines. But your routine has to change. If you adopt all this technology and you don't adopt a new routine or an efficient routine, then it doesn't matter. So that's the one thing I would encourage everybody today. Before, Corey, I kind of give you the reins to show us off how Mobile Assistant can help with this. Your meetings are not done until the notes are in. That is the type of best practice solution that you need to take away without the technology, regardless of whether you're using Redtail, Mobile Assistant, whatever. You got to change that routine. Your meetings aren't done until the notes are in. Your item is not completed until the notes are in. I can't move on to the next meeting until I've got the paperwork submitted, until I've got the notes entered in, until I've got our action items ready to go. Those are strategic plans. Those are changed habits that everybody on this call, everybody watching this recording, whoever, those are those things that need to be applied first and foremost. And that's one thing, Corey, you and I are very passionate about, obviously. But, with all of that being said, one of the whole purposes, on top of the best practice, on top of people adopting the idea that the meeting isn't over until the notes are in, the item isn't completed until the notes are in, we have tools to help with that, right? And some of you may be familiar with Mobile Assistant and what they do and dictation, but there is some really, really cool stuff that Corey, literally somebody just asked about something new that's coming out with Mobile Assistant. And I know you got some stuff to show us because some of the new things that you guys have rolled out are really exciting. So again, take that best practice back, take that practice management back. But Corey, I'm going to let you show off what you have in store, and then we'll also show off how it works in Redtail. We'll show off, for those of you who aren't familiar with Mobile Assistant, show you what it looks like in Redtail, what you can do with it. But Corey, I'll let you show us kind of everything you got going right now.
All right, I love it. Thanks, Rick. It's such a good intro because it really gets, I think, everyone on this call really thinking about what their note taking and their client meeting note process is really like today. And one of my favorite sayings with Redtail is if it's not in Redtail, did it really happen? And I know, Rick, you've said that over the years, and it it really is true. All that important information that's getting gathered from client meetings, if it doesn't end up in Redtail, there's no record of it. And if there's no record of it, from a compliance standpoint, it basically didn't happen. And so from Mobile Assistant standpoint, that's really one of the biggest reasons why we really formed this partnership years ago, which is to be able to provide an easy solution to that challenge and that problem, which is how do you easily get notes into Redtail so that you do have yourself covered and you do have all those notes into the CRM where they really need to be. And so it's a really great way to kind of get the conversation started. And so what I'm going to start by showing everyone is really the way that dictation works in general, because for those of you who are not familiar with dictation, it really is designed just to make it easy for you to capture your notes by just speaking after your client meeting and give a recap of that meeting, and then have our transcriptionists type the notes and send them back to you by email and put them into Redtail. That's really the way that dictation has always worked. Mobile Assistant has been in the financial and insurance space for over a decade now, but I've actually been in the dictation and transcription industry for over 20. And what's kind of amazing to me, though, is that, over the years, as we've developed different ways of having the notes delivered back to our clients, because that was a really important aspect of what we do, which is not only how do we go about capturing the data from you, our clients, but how do we deliver it? Do we deliver it back by just email, or do we integrate with partners like Redtail so that the notes go right where you need them into the notes section and as an activity, which I'll go into a little later? That process has been primarily really the same over the last couple decades, which is you hit the record button and you keep yourself organized, and you have to keep yourself formatted and speak your notes in a way that they come back exactly the way you want them. And the reason why I say it like that is that, we really felt like there was a need for a change in that process, because it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. It's not the easiest thing to keep yourself organized and structured and not forget anything. We're all human, and so you can have best laid plans are you've got all the information that you need to document after your client meetings. And then when you go to dictate, you hit record and then you try to remember everything, and it's not that easy to do. And so what we did as a company is we looked at creating a new way of capturing the meeting notes from our clients in the form of an assistant. And we launched the new assistant with our new mobile app called Talk It in August this year. And it's made a huge impact for our clients and for advisors out there that are interested in dictation, but we're a little nervous about how to get started. Because the idea of just hitting record and trying to remember everything is a little frightening. It's a little daunting for some people. And
it's hard.
It is hard, right? And so Rick, the way that we designed this is we tried to think about, like, if for instance, from my perspective, I wanted to come up with a way of if we were going to design something that was going to help to prompt me through the process, what would that look like? And so we really did take a lot of time, and it took over a year and a half to design and then go to market with this new feature of our Talk It app. In that we had a large group of advisors that we really relied on to do a lot of prototype testing with us. So we introduced what we thought would be maybe an interesting way of going about capturing the information from our clients in the form of a template system. And that's really what the assistant is it's a template guide to help guide you through the process by listing out the questions and allowing you to go through and scroll through those list of questions, say the question and answer it, so that you've got a guide and kind of a stepping stone through the process. And working with our groups of advisors before we went to market with our new app, it really helped us to design it exactly the way that really advisors are using it today, and it really is proven out to be have a huge impact in the way that everyone is going about using our service. And so I've got a couple of cool clips here that I'm going to show. The first one is going to show what does the process look like when you actually go into a template, into the assistant. And so I'm going to go ahead and start the clip and kind of just walk along through this. So instead of just hitting record, I'm going to navigate to the assistant at the bottom and select a template. So I selected the annual client review, and now there's the list of questions. So as I go through these questions, what was the location of the meeting? Who attended the meeting? What were the client's goals for the meeting? Were there any changes to the family situation or client goals? Once I go through and I say those questions, I answer them. And then once that note is then uploaded and sent to our system, we have transcriptionists around the country that are going to have that template in front of them. And they're going to have the list of questions that they're going to type in everything that you dictated. So now every annual client review that you get back is going to be in the same structure and the same format. Every general client meeting you can have as many templates now as you'd like. And so the real power of this template system, I think, is really the ability for you to have a library of templates that you customize to fit your needs for your practice. So we're going to have two templates that are preloaded. We're going to have an annual client review and a general client meeting. And so those questions that are in those templates might work really well for you. Or if you want to make changes to them, you can keep the template, but just make changes to it by clicking on the little bubble next to the template, and you can make changes and edit the questions. You can add questions, or you can even start from scratch and just create your own. And so what I thought was really interesting is for the advisors that have used dictation for years, and you might be one of them, maybe you've already incorporated dictation in your routine. And so you're really accustomed to really keeping yourself organized and on track. But when we were showing this template system to advisors of ours that what we consider to be really seasoned and powered dictators that were really had the routine down, at first we didn't know that it would be really useful for everyone, not just the people that are new to dictation, but the people that are already really seasoned professionals at it. And what we found is the advisors that were already really good dictators found that it was really helpful to have a template for the different type of meetings that would have specific questions that they don't always have on a regular basis. Now, what do I mean by that? So what I'm going to show you is how to create a template, and we're going to create a tax review. Because as all of you know and probably have with your clients, you probably have a tax review every year, but it's not on a regular basis. So because of that, now I can have a template that's designed for tax review meetings that have specific questions that always have to get answered that are very unique to that type of meeting. And so during this process, it takes just a few seconds. I name the template, I go ahead and color code it, and I put the questions in my own words, exactly how I want the questions to be displayed to me in the template when I enter it during my dictation. So within a few seconds, I put these questions in, and it's going to add that template then to that library of templates that I have within the assistant. And so just finishing it up, we hit save and close, and then within a few seconds, you'll see there's the tax review template. So now I click on tax review, it'll tell me to get somewhere quiet, and now there's the list of questions that I just created that I can scroll through. So it's a really powerful tool to be able to help structure and organize all of your notes, no matter what type of meeting it is, so that when you get these notes back, they're going to be in the same structured format. And even more importantly, they're really going to help you so that you're not going to forget anything. And so, the impact that we've had so far, we've seen so far in just the few months that it's been available to all of our clients, one of the biggest telltale signs, in my opinion, of whether or not this has been really beneficial and useful for our clients is that of all the notes that we do on a daily basis, we process thousands of dictations a day. And we have, at current standpoint right now, we have over 20% of the dictations that are coming into our system are actually coming in the form of a template. And so for just a few months to market for our clients, we really are seeing that almost a quarter of the dictations are coming in these templates now. So I know that it's really helping advisors. It's helping to give you a structure through this whole dictation process that's making a big impact.
I love that, man. I think again, I speak from experience as somebody who maybe doesn't live the life of an advisor, but as somebody who has tried to, use mobile assistant on my own, and not know what to say. Not even though most of it I'm making up just for test purposes, but you can catch yourself rambling. You can go off track really really easily, and by basically pre-building in all of these questions, you are building that dictation assistant that has always existed. I mean, I think about I'm a big movie guy, and I think about all the old timey movies where there's some old timey movies where there's some captain of industry or whatever who is dictating a letter to an assistant who's typing it out on a typewriter, right? This is essentially rebuilding that type of assistant to prompt you. Okay, what did you do? Okay, what did you talk about? And I think that that's really, really powerful for a lot of advisors out there who are on the go, who have a hard time remembering, who have a hard time maybe staying on track. I love this stuff. I think it's really great. This is now, Corey, I don't remember. Is this something that's available to all mobile assistant users?
That's right. It comes available right within our subscription. It's included, so there's nothing to turn on. As soon as you would sign up for our service, even during the free trial, you'll see all these features that are available to you. You can even create templates in your trial, and anything that you create during your trial will be available to you once you sign into for a subscription. So it's all part of the package. I really just don't believe in nickel and diming our clients. I don't think advisors, when they pay for a subscription, I feel like you should get all the benefits of our service. And this is definitely a big innovation that is a big technology improvement that is really disrupting the way that dictation is really used.
For sure, man. And then obviously that stuff goes into Redtail, right?
Exactly. So that's where we get into kind of you're skipping ahead just a little bit on
All
that.
right. I stole your thunder. I apologize. I'll back off a little.
I've just got one more thing to show when it comes to our Talk It app that's really important, and that is the notes section. So the notes section of our mobile app has every dictation that you've ever done with us. And so whether you use a template or whether you just freeform dictate your notes, all of those notes, yes, they're going to go into Redtail, which is our next topic. But the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to deliver them to the notes section in our mobile app. And so if you go into the notes section at the bottom of the taskbar of our app and type in the name of a client, let's type in Brian McLaughlin, for instance. What this will do is it'll bring up all the dictations for Brian, and I can, within just a few seconds, actually review the note and see all the information that was captured during the last dictation. And one of the things that I just did there really quickly in this clip was I just added a tag word. So you can add a word innovation, for instance, and it would bring this note up. And another option that you're going to be able to do is, let's say it's an annual client review and you want to share it with your client. You can go ahead and click on that share button on the top right, and we'll actually put it right into the email for you. So we make it really easy for you to access your notes so that when you're on the way to meet with a client, within a few seconds, you're going to pull up the dictation and say, okay, this is where we left off. These are the important things that we covered last meeting. And it doesn't take you but just a few seconds. You've got all of your notes within the palm of your hand, which, in today's world, I think having mobile access to your notes is incredibly important. Who has time to go and log into your computer and look up the notes? Or maybe you're calling your office saying, hey, I'm meeting with, Brian McLaughlin today, and can you pull up the old notes and send them to me because I can't remember where we left off and what the important things were that we needed to cover in the next meeting. Now, within a few seconds, you've got access to all the notes. We keep track of every dictation that you've ever done with us. So for the advisors that have used us for the 10 years we've been in business, just imagine having access to 10 years worth of notes for every client of yours. That's really what the power is of really using the mobile app, having the access of our notes section.
Nice.
Now let's get to the good part, which is the Redtail integration. So, this is going to be a really interesting, I think, for some of you that maybe you already have the integration with Mobile Assistant and Redtail, but maybe you're not sure what all the capabilities are that you have with this integration. I can honestly say that our integration with Redtail is really unique in that unlike any other dictation service in the world, you have the ability using our service to dictate a note that goes right to the contact record and an activity. And so what I like to step everyone through is I like to step everyone through what we call the two-step note-taking routine. Because if you think about the different types of notes that you need to accomplish after every client meeting, I think everyone on this call would probably agree that there's two really major notes that you need to capture. The first one is going to be the recap of the meeting. That's going to be everything from a compliance standpoint that you would want to go right to the notes section for that contact record. It's all the compliance information, all that information that you want to make sure that's documented and memorialized. So you've got it, everything that you recommended, any kind of recommendations that you're going to make to the client, you want to make sure you're going to document. That's the recap. The next note that you'd want to make sure to capture would be an activity and next steps, action items. So that's what the two-step note-taking routine is. And so I'm going to show you the first one, which is the recap. So the default of where we deliver the notes into Redtail is going to be if you say and spell the client name at the beginning of your dictation and then recap the meeting, that note is going to be delivered directly to the notes section for the contact record. So you don't have to do anything other than just say and spell the client name, and we'll put it into the notes section. So this is exactly the dictation you want to dictate all of the important recapped information recommendations that you had for that client meeting. So in this example, I would start out by saying client name is Brian McLaughlin, McLaughlin. Subject is annual review with Brian McLaughlin. Now by doing that, this note's going to be delivered to Brian's contact record in Redtail, which I'll show you in a few minutes. And it's going to have the subject line of annual review with Brian McLaughlin. So a really easy way to enter the section by just saying and spelling the client name. Now the next step is going to be the action items. This is going to be the activities. So you can dictate an activity using Mobile Assistant, which would be next steps, action items, things that you would want to communicate with your internal staff, or just things that you want to make sure you're going to act upon after that client meeting. And so in order to do that, all you have to do is say, make this an activity, and you can say for the client name and spell it. So we'll assign it to that contact, but we'll put it into Redtail under the things to do today section as an activity. And so think about the routine you have after your client meeting, documenting the client meeting, the recap, and then the action items, creating the activity within Redtail so that you really are able to parse out the action items from the note. And this has been one of the biggest and most powerful reasons why advisors are using our integration with Redtail is because it does give you that ability to keep things separate so that the notes section doesn't have the next steps and action items kind of interweaved within paragraphs of information. You're going to be able to keep that separate by simply using the activity as a way of communicating your next steps and action items for anyone that you're working with, your assistant, or if you're going to act upon it afterwards. It makes it real easy and clear what has to be done after your client meeting that's not going to just be in that note section. So what does this look like within Redtail? So the default for the client meeting note is going to be that I dictate and spell the client name. It's going to enter it into the notes section here. As you can see, it's going to be assigned to Brian McLaughlin. Now, you'll also notice that there's a time and date stamp at the bottom of every note that you get back from Mobile Assistant. It's going to have the date that it was dictated, the time it was transcribed, and the job number, and even the ID of the transcriptionist who did this dictation. So you've got some extra compliance things built into this note from using Mobile Assistant. You've got a third-party time and date stamp along with delivering it right to the note section for the contact record. Now the next step would be step 2, which is I dictated this note and said, make this an activity for Dax Stadjahar, and I spelled his name. And I made the subject line RMD calculation for Dax Stadjahar. By doing that, the note was assigned to Dax as a contact. It put it under the things to do today, and the subject line was exactly what I just said, the calculation for Dax Stadjahar. So within this process, you've got the recap of the meeting note that goes to the contact record, and you've got the action items after that client meeting. And just like the note section type of dictation, every activity is time and date stamped, and you'll see exactly when it was dictated and when it was transcribed by us. Now, we also have a third method of delivering the notes to Redtail. And this method is basically what we call our generic landing area. So on the dashboard in Redtail, if you scroll down to the bottom, you would see Mobile Assistant listed there. Now, this is the area where we would enter a note if we weren't sure where to put the dictation. So let's say you dictated on Corey Westfall, and there happen to be 2 Corey Westfalls in your database. If that happens, we're not just going to guess on where to put it. We're going to put it in this general landing area where you're able to open up the note and you can assign it. You can assign it to a contact from there. You can make changes to it. You can create an activity out of it. And it really gives you flexibility of taking the note and doing whatever you need to within Redtail with this dictation. Now, although this is kind of the generic landing area, if there are some advisors who don't want the note to ever go right to the note section of the contact record, and if that's you, and if you don't want to have the ability to create an activity or have the note go right to the contact record, we can actually set you up with an integration that would deliver every dictation to this general landing area. Now, the biggest difference with the generic landing area is that you have the ability to edit the note. So when you dictate a note that goes right to the contact record, that's set in stone. If you're going to make changes to it, the original one's going to be there. So if you're someone that really likes to be able to look through your dictation first and be able to correct anything or maybe add some color to it, you can always either say, make this a generic note and we'll deliver it here where you can review it first. Or we can set you up with what we call the old integration. Because this new integration we have with Redtail that gives you the power to have the note delivered to the note section as an activity or as a generic note. So you've got a lot of flexibility with our new integration. What I really found over the years was a lot of people a lot of advisors that I talked to that had never heard of Mobile Assistant or maybe were just getting started with dictation, they were a little nervous that the notes would come back and they would be really accurate. And so what they did is they asked if they could start out with the old integration, have the notes delivered here to this generic landing area. We could always change it down the road so that we deliver it right to the notes section. And one of the things I'll tell you is you will find using Mobile Assistant that these notes are going to be either perfect or really, really, really close to perfect. And it's because of the US-based transcriptionists that we use to do the work. They do an amazing job, and you're going to be able to be really rest assured that these notes are going to come back and they're going to be so accurate, you're not going to have to worry about editing them. Now, one of the things that Redtail has done is made it really easy for you to try our service. So an integrated Mobile Assistant trial can be done right on the dashboard. At the bottom of your Redtail screen, you're going to see Mobile Assistant where the generic landing area is. And right next to our name, you're going to see the free trial button. And by clicking on the free trial button, it'll populate everything that we need automatically. And all you have to do is click Activate CRM. So within 2 clicks, you're going to get a welcome email from us. It's going to have everything you need to get started. It's going to ask you to authenticate your email. And then you'll be able to use Mobile Assistant for free for 40 minutes of dictation time. And the integration will work with Redtail by going about this, signing up this way versus just going to our website. So I definitely recommend trying it through the Redtail or through your Redtail dashboard. It's just an easier, very secure way of just getting your information so we can get your trial started.
I love it, man.
Now, one of the things I like to leave everyone with is really to talk about what makes Mobile Assistant different. And, you know, over the 20 years that we've been in business, you know, we really have held true to this really core value with Mobile Assistant, which is we will always, always be a professional US-based transcription company. We've had a lot of pressure over the years to outsource everything overseas, for instance, and pay pay about 1/10 of what it would cost to keep everything in the States. Although it's really expensive to do the work the way we do it, it really comes across in the notes that come back to you. The reason why we use professional transcriptionists is so that you do not have to spend time out of your day cleaning up the notes that you've dictated. If you've ever used a software like a Dragon or a Siri, you'll know that it's okay for maybe some grocery lists or some to-dos, but you have to be willing to accept that a lot of the information is going to be inaccurate or just going to be flat out wrong. And so because of that, for client meeting note documentation, we really don't believe that that's good enough. And so we will always maintain that quality, that you'll be rest assured that these notes are going to come back and they're going to be incredibly accurate. Our transcriptionists do an amazing job. If you have anything during your dictation, let's say you said the word, you said Corey Westfall instead of Charles Westfall in a paragraph. because these are real people that are doing this work for you, you're going to be able to tell them, hey, go back to the last paragraph and change it to Corey instead of Charles. You're going to be able to make those type of changes, and you're even going to be able to tell the transcriptionist to do specific formatting. Like you can tell them bullet point the next 5 items, or number list the next 5 things, and they will actually do that for you. So there's some really big benefits besides just the quality of the notes, of having real human transcriptionists that do the work for you.
I love that, man. And obviously this is all compliant, right? I mean, there's part of that transcriptionist. They know the lingo. It's all secure, right?
That's right. That's exactly. So with all of the broker-dealer relationships we have, we go through the compliance, scrutiny, just like the CRM companies do, like Redtail. Even though we definitely, as a best practice, we tell our advisors to don't ever dictate PII information. There's no reason to dictate social security numbers or bank account numbers, and the reason why is because all that important, secure personal information resides in the CRM. That's the lockbox. There's no reason to dictate that information, because all we need to match your notes up with the contact record is the contact name. That's all we need. And so keep that in mind. If you're not comfortable with something being emailed, there's no reason to ever dictate it. And that really helps keep the process even more secure. Now I'll leave everyone with a case study that was done. So one of our largest clients has over 1,100 reps that have used us for over 7 years now. And they did a case study for us in 2017. And this kind of goes to what Rick was talking to at the very beginning, which is, why is it important that you're documenting information? Why is it important that you're getting information captured and documented right after a client meeting? And the reason why I'm showing you this case study is what they found is they compared reps that were using Mobile Assistant for their client meeting note documentation, and they compared them to the reps that were not using anything, and they were just typing their notes. And what they found is the reps were using Mobile Assistant on a consistent basis were showing $400,000 more in asset growth. And for the new hires that had started that year, compared to the new hires that weren't using anything, they had $2 million more in asset growth. Now, why is that? What I think that this really shows is it's not just the time savings, where you're not having to type as many notes, and you're definitely saving time there. But it's the information that you're capturing. It's the detail. It's getting information documented right after a client meeting and having all those opportunities that were probably lost because you didn't have a way of capturing it easily. And there's a lot of studies out there. After just an hour, 2/3 of your short-term memory is gone. And so because of that, there's really nothing you can do about that other than finding a way of capturing information right away. And so that's why, as part of the routine for advisors, we really recommend as a best practice that you set aside 15 minutes after every client meeting. It doesn't matter where it is. It can be in your car, it can be an empty meeting room, but get somewhere quiet after your client meeting and get that information from your short-term memory and document it by just speaking your notes using Mobile Assistant. It'll help you so much to get, all of a sudden you'll have a whole page of notes from that client meeting instead of a paragraph. And it really will translate to more asset growth because of the time savings and the increased amount of detail that you're going to capture.
I love that.
Yeah. And when it comes to the subscription, everyone, after the free trial, keep in mind that to make sure you use the Redtail discount code, because that's going to get you a 30% discount. Our subscription is typically about $1,000 a year. You get a 30% discount. It brings it down to $700 a year with the Redtail partnership that we have. Or if you want to sign up monthly, you can do that. It's $70 a month, no contracts, and you can pay month to month if you'd like. What is included in that is you're going to get about 100 minutes of dictation time per month. It's a lot. It covers almost 90% of the advisors that are using us. And you can keep using us. If you use it more than that, you're just going to pay us a fee per line. So
I love it, man.
Yeah, so I'd love to get your thoughts on anything that you saw here today when it comes to like how we work with Redtail. I know we're always looking to improve things with you guys, but you've been such a great partner of ours, and I love coming up with different ways of how we can work with with Redtail to make this integration even more powerful for advisors.
Oh, me too, man. And this is just the beginning. Like we're always going to be looking for ways to integrate it, like with other tools in the CRM, whether it be seminars, whether it be workflows. Those are like our next big goals, you know. So even though right now it really ties into the contacts, the notes, the activities, you know, the future is bright, so to speak. What I wanted to do really quickly is, Corey, you showed us off a little bit here, but I did want to share my screen in the CRM just to kind of wrap it up here, and really show you all what it actually looks like. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go in, share my screen here, make sure that y'all can hopefully see it. And, you know, Corey talked about how they go into the generic notes section. Now, I actually just had Tim Taylor up, and he has one of the notes that I added in right in there. He has one of those mobile assistant notes that went into his contact record. And again, they just go right in. It's super great. Corey, I do want to ask you a question though. Right now, when we create activities, that just creates an activity. It does not currently go into an existing activity, right?
Yeah, that's correct. We don't have a way right now of feeding any of the notes into an existing activity. It's something that's come up over
Sure.
the last year for sure, is something that would be an interesting kind of next step with our integration that I'd like to definitely keep looking at.
And you know, there are ways to work with that. Like if I scroll down here to the bottom and I have my mobile assistant messages here, for example, like if I wanted to take this and create an activity from it, I can create a new activity, or I can view the message and copy the text. And again, this is not like, this is just like a workaround. But again, if you wanted to put something into an existing activity, it's really just a matter of copying, pasting. I can go ahead and copy this and then paste it into an existing activity. That's something that I would do. I did want to also show what it looks like, because this is just a big old block of text, right? But what the note actually looks like, if I actually click in and view the message, this is what, you know, and I didn't prettify it. I didn't do the bullet points or the texts or things like that. This is my kind of generic version of a template note, but this is what it looks like. It comes in through the template, the questions in through the template, and they helped guide me in through this. They helped me guide how I was able to answer those questions and whatnot. So I really wanted to show that off and show the formatting off. And then I can do whatever I want once they come into this general area. I can create a new note from it and make some adjustments if I want to. Like maybe if I want to get rid of this first part of the note, like I could definitely do that. I could definitely make that happen. If they highlight something that they couldn't spell correctly, maybe they didn't, maybe I didn't spell it, maybe they are ballparking it, by being able to go in, I can actually type in the actual, I can go ahead and make a little tweak here. I can go ahead and make sure that I'm spelling everything correctly, just in case. You know, some people, they got some wacky last names. But I did want to show that off. And then I can always categorize it as a mobile dictation. I could categorize it as mobile dictation, as meeting notes, you know, whatever I wanted to do, I could do that and then add that to, I believe this was for, see, I deleted it already. I think this was for Bruce Wayne, if I'm not mistaken. But I will go in and now I can attach it to Bruce Wayne. And
So
now it's a little bit of an additional, this is what the generic note would look like, but Corey, you showed off how if I just say subject is meeting with Bruce Wayne, BRUCEWAYNE, it goes right into the contact.
yeah, that's right. And this I'm really glad that you took time to show and to do a template to show everyone. It really does make a big difference in, I think, in how advisors are able to go back and really be able to find the pertinent information they're looking for. Up until the templates really were introduced this year, everything really was normally just in big paragraph format, and which is fine. At least it's, you know, it's good that it's getting documented, but being able to go back and have to look through paragraphs of information to find out like what the client's goals were. Now it's really, with the use of templates, really makes it formatted so much better so that all of your, for instance, all of your annual reviews are going to look like this. So like if you go into this again, Rick, so you can see what it looks like within the template. So now when I think about going back and looking up past meetings, if I want to be able to see what the client's goals were for this meeting, it becomes super easy because they're always going to be in the same section of the note, because they're all templated. They're all templated and structured exactly the same way. So that's really one of the biggest impacts I think that templates are having for advisors is the organization and the structure aspect of it. So thanks for showing that. That's it really kind of brought to light exactly what, one of the benefits of using templates really does for advisors.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Now I got two questions before we wrap up. Obviously, what's the turnaround time? Because I tested this yesterday, and that was, what was that? December. It was Monday, December 9th.
Yeah.
And not to date the webinar recording, but there you go. And my turnaround time was, I think, less than an hour. I think
Yeah.
I got the dictation email. It showed up in the CRM less than an hour, but it's not always that way. Sometimes things get busy. So what do you say is the turnaround time?
Yeah, so we like to we promise that you're going to get the notes back within 8 business hours. And the reason why we put a 8 business hour timeline in is because that's the really worst case scenario. What you experienced yesterday is the way that that we operate as a company is that we're going to turn the notes around as fast as possible. And so throughout the year, you're going to see that it is going to fluctuate, and it's going to fluctuate based on our workload. And as you can imagine, since we're primarily in the financial industry, our workload is going to fluctuate on the same schedule as you, the advisor. So when you're really busy in February and March, for instance, your dictations are going to come back probably closer to the 8 business hour turnaround time. You dictate something today, you're probably going to have it back within an hour because the month of December slows down a little bit for advisors. And so that's one of the things that I'm glad you asked that question. The turnaround time is going to be really fluctuate throughout the year. But so I guess what I would say is don't get used to the 1 hour turnaround time, but but when we can deliver it that fast, we always will.
I love it, man. And then the last thing I want to ask is, you briefly mentioned the series of the world and whatnot, but if you had to boil it down, like what makes Mobile Assistant different than the other dictation services out there, the other options that people have?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a worthwhile question.
Well, it is one of my favorite questions because it's just natural, right, to ask a company what makes you different, what makes you better than the other companies that are doing what you do. And for me, it always starts with the number one difference is the quality of the dictation. The notes that you get back, I guarantee you, are going to be night and day more accurate than any other solution out there, whether it's software or it's another company. And it comes down to, it's the pride that I have in the way that we do the work. Our transcriptionists do an amazing job, and this is what they do for a living. These are our transcriptionists are not independent contractors. They're not doing this for some extra money on the weekends. This is what they do for a living. We have a health plan in place for them. They're full-time employees. And so it makes a huge difference that they are concentrating on their work quality for their job. This is all they do. And so that's the number one. And then the other two things are, the Redtail integration is absolutely better than any other dictation service out there. It's more flexible, giving you the ability to have the note go in as an activity and as a note and as a generic note. That's the kind of flexibility you can't get anywhere else with any other service. And then the technology, I'm really excited about, the new Talk It mobile app that we launched this year. The innovation of the templates have made really a great impact. And I love the fact that, there's finally something new and disruptive when it comes to dictation. It's not just calling a dictation line and just leaving a message. Now you have the ability to template your notes, which I think is going to make a huge difference and a big impact for advisors. So thanks for the question. That's one of my favorites.
Absolutely, man. Well, I want to thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it, man. As always, I love working with you. I love working with you guys. And I really, just to put a bow at the end of everything, I would encourage you, regardless of what you're using, to establish quality, efficient note-taking routines in your office. Like Corey said, attach another 15 minutes on top of a scheduled meeting so that you can do that follow-up right then and there, so that it's not waiting for you, so that you don't lose that short-term memory. Do that first. I mean, obviously, Mobile Assistant's great to utilize, but these tools are useless without a proper routine and a proper plan to utilize them. So Corey, thank you again for joining us, and I want to thank everybody else for being a part of it. Thanks so much for joining us today for this particular session. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call at 800-206-5030, option 3 for support, or just shoot us an email over to support@redtailtechnology.com. Thanks a lot and have a great day.